Hello friends! Hope everybody's doing well. Okay, so on the three-part video series on the engine replacement on the Gravely C8, I took the engine off the 1954 Gravely Model L and we put it on the Gravely C8 that's right behind me here. At the end of part 3, I did my usual thing. I started it up. I got it running pretty decent. And we took it for a ride around the yard here. And I noticed it was puffing a little smoke. And then, of course, after the video, I parked the tractor and I let it run while I was cleaning tools and putting them away. And I noticed engine oil started dripping from towards the back of the engine. And what I did was the next day I ordered oil pump seal and gaskets. I did drop the plow off it because I as tired as I was curious to see what was going on. It looked like it was leaking towards the back of the engine. The story with it was, if you didn't see the three-part series, is when the engine was on in 1954, the oil lines were set up so it had like lower oil pressure, and then when I put the engine on the C8, I put it back to the way it was with higher oil pressure. When I originally got the 54 Gravely running, I test drove it a little bit. I put the mower deck on it because I just reviewed that video, and I cut some grass around the field, and I really didn't notice anything, but I really didn't have the engine running that long. So the next day, after I saw it dripping oil, I called Richard's Home and Garden, and I ordered the seal and the gaskets, and I do have those on hand. So what I intend to do right now is, it's been a week, exactly a week today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a cold start on it, and I'll back it out. I'm going to let it run off camera. I'll do the cold start, then I'll let it run off camera until the engine oil starts dripping, and I'll let you see that it's dripping. And I guess we'll disassemble it and see what's going on with it. Like I said, I just checked it quick, and I'm thinking that the oil pump seal might be leaking, but I'm not 100% sure. Whether the case is, I didn't notice it on the 54 because I had lower oil pressure, and now that it has a higher oil pressure, maybe it's more pronounced, or I really don't know right now. So let me get set up. I'll set the camera up. We'll do a cold start on it, see how it starts up cold. I don't like the puffing of the smoke. It started smoking a little more than it was in the video. When I was throttling it up, it was puffing smoke. And when I pulled it in, at the end of the day, it just seemed to be smoking more. So we may be looking at doing a quick rebuild on the top end. The furthest I'll go with it is I'll hone out the cylinder. We'll measure to see. It has a 20 thousandths over piston in it. I'll measure the cylinder out to see if we have to go a step higher to like 25 thousandths rings, or is the 20 thousandths rings wore out. I don't know any history on the tractor. I mean, this is the way I got it. The 54 with the engine we have on here now. So, okay, let's get moving with this. So if the case is that we have to take the top end of the engine apart, I may go as far as lapping the valves too. The thing is, this is the C8. It's the 8-speed, and I want to keep this as a backup. So I want this to be reliable and run good. And I don't want it smoking either. Anyway, let me turn the gas on here. Give it some throttle. Whoops. I took the choke off too quick, I think. Okay, so I'm going to get set up and we're going to start taking this apart. And it's a shame that my socket broke for the starter clutch here. So what I did was when I put it back together, I put some anti-seize on the crank threads where this screws on. So I'm hoping I could just hit it with put an adjustable wrench or a 5/16 wrench on there and just whack it with the hammer and loosen that. So I'm going to pull the tractor down to where we work and I'll get it all set up and then we'll just start disassembling it and see what we come up with. Alright. I'll see you in a couple of seconds. My main concern here is to get rid of this oil leak because I have a big spring cleanup to do here in the yard and I want to use this tractor to pull the trailer around. So I at least for today I want to get rid of this oil leak. Okay, so I began by disconnecting the battery. I disconnected the negative cable first and then second the positive. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to loosen the two starter bolts here, nuts and bolts. We're going to take this chain off and I'm going to see, that's a little tight. And I'm going to see if I can get this off without much problems. Sometimes you actually got to pull the starter off to get the chain to come off. It always seems to pop off. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's always easier to take it off from the bigger sprocket or put it on the bigger sprocket. Now comes maybe a little problem, I don't know. I'm going to try to whack the starter clutch off with the adjustable and the hammer here. I think it came loose. I guess maybe the trick is this too. Okay, there's supposed to be a lock bolt in here, and the one I took off this tractor never came with one, and the other one has a real long. I don't think it's supposed to be like that. The bolt is supposed to be tapered. When you screw it in, it's supposed to lock this on here. I think I may have another one somewhere, but maybe the trick is just to put Loctite on it, and I can not Loctite. What am I talking about? Anti-seize. I put anti-seize on the shaft here. Got to get it together today. Okay, so we got this off, and I remember we didn't need. Oh yeah, now you need a pulley puller to get this off. This is the one when it was on the 54, so it must be the pulley's no good, just more or less fell off. So, alright, so, okay, we got this off here right now. And I just set up the camera different. I have to take off the tow bar here, or lower it down, or whatever I have to do here. Alright. Let me get this glove off and shut the camera off, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I'm going to loosen up the governor right now and take some tension off of the belt, and then we'll continue to disassemble here. Like I said, I might need to use the pulley puller to get this pulley off, but we're going to get this towing bracket off in the meantime too. So we're just going to take a 3/4 inch here, and we're going to loosen this here. And then one of the engine bolts down here you have to loosen so you can move the governor. Yeah, that pulley seems to be on there pretty good, so I'll probably have to use the pulley puller to get it off. Alright, in the meantime, we're just going to take this bracket off. I'll just take this nut off all the way, because it has two supports, one on this side, one on the other side, for the tow bar here. And I brought my trusty coffee can here to throw all the parts in, nuts, bolts, whatnot. I think if I just loosen this bottom bracket here, I think I'm just going to take this thing off altogether, the tow bar. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Loosen this. I don't know, I can feel with my finger down below here that it's leaking in the vicinity of the oil pump. Then there's two bolts, one on this side, one on the other side. Get this bracket. We'll just take this bracket right off here. Should be able to clear everything here. And those will be 3/4 inch bolts. You know, you'll use a 3/4 inch socket. And I hope we get rid of this oil leak without any problem. You guys didn't think after part 3, after we got this running and I test drove it, it would be fine, did you? I was hoping so, but we weren't so lucky. You know, we're working with stuff that's 50, 60 years old and whatnot, so you always have to expect the unexpected. Alright, so I should be able to just pull these. know if I get behind here and pry the pulley, or am I going to have to just see if I can run this belt off without pinching my fingers. One thing I didn't do that you want to do is disconnect the spark plug wire. That could have started up just then. Because you know how I know? Because it's happened. So we got the belt off. I'm gonna have to go in and get the pulley puller, and I'll set it up, and then we'll just yank this pulley off. And then we should be there. He gave me two different gaskets. He gave me a big gasket and a smaller gasket here. I think that this only just has the oil pump cover and the seal. And I hope I got the right gasket. I'm sure the seal will be fine. Alright, let me shut the camera off and I'll be right back. Okay, I got the puller on, as you could say. And we're just going to pull the puller off. You have to make sure you don't use the woodruff, okay? I'll show you once we get it off. Now with this puller here, you should actually tighten these bolts up tight, but I didn't. And also you should use an impact socket, which I'm not using, but at least wear your safety goggles in case the socket explodes. And there it goes. And we just pull out the woodruff key here. There's a slot in here. We'll throw that in the can so we don't lose it. We'll put this aside here. I'll have to undo the oil lines here. One thing I want to check. Let me see if you're on good camera view here. Here, let me take the camera off the tripod. Sorry, it just takes so long to get your gloves on and off. Another thing with these there is to be concerned about is these bolts go into aluminum, and sometimes you find them stripped. And I think this one here might be stripped because what somebody did was they screwed a nut onto the bolt. I've done this before too. They screwed a nut onto the bolt, they tightened up the bolt the best they could in there, and then they tightened up the nut to tighten this cover up here. I don't know, it looks to me like it is the seal leaking. I hope we got the right stuff for this. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so I'm gonna have to remove these oil lines. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna remove the oil lines first, and then I'll come back to you when we're ready to take the cover off, and we'll see what's going on in there. I just hope the crank is all right. You know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out when we get to that part. Okay, so I shook the crank too before, I forgot to tell you, and everything seems to be pretty tight with that, with the lower end here. And I just cleaned everything off real quick, but it was pretty clean already from when we put the engine on. So I'm using the 1/4 inch drive, because I told you these are very delicate here. And we just loosen these all up and we'll pull this pump cover off. And I hope we get rid of the oil leak. I always check to see, sometimes you can see the threads come off from the inside, but it seems to be okay so far. We should have actually opened up the parts that Richards sent us, but I didn't yet. We'll do that after I get this thing off. The longer bolts go in here, the shorter ones here. It's all self-explanatory. And then that bolt with the nut, we gotta make sure we put it back where I took it off here. I think I made a video doing this on the 69 Gravely, the orange one. That's the tractor that's on my stickers. But in case you didn't see it, we'll do it again here. Gotta pop this off. I just gotta get a screwdriver. I'll be back in a moment. So we got a little bit of a stubborn thing going on here, maybe. I don't know if I gotta tap around. There it goes. Make sure nothing falls off here. Falls out. It's got a good gasket here, which is unusual because if I didn't order the gaskets, the gasket would have been broken. That's for sure. There's a little bit of rust here on the crankshaft, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean all that rust off too. And then we are going to go to the vise. I have to clean this out a little better. We're going to go to the vise here and I'll bang this seal out. We'll bang in the new one. So I'll be back. I just hope we get away with the new seal in here. Doesn't seem so cool. I don't know, we'll worry about it in a little bit. What really would have been a good idea here is if I got two seals and then I could have just banged one in on this side because you got plenty of space, and this is the outer part here, and then I just could have banged another one in this way. But the crank was pretty bad. I used the die grinder and I cleaned up the crank real good, and now I'm just hoping that it seals. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go over to the bench and get set up, and we're going to knock this seal out, put the new one in, and I still didn't open up the package from Richards yet. Okay, so I gently tighten this up in the vise here, and I have this socket. I'm going to try to drive out the old seal, but this socket might be too small, I don't know. Oh, there it goes, it fell out. And yet I still didn't open up the package. You see. if we got the right seal here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay, let's see what we have here. The big wind is starting to arrive here. They said it's supposed to be really windy today. See what they charged us. Not bad, 1845. So that's not too bad. They're really nice people over there. They're a real big help with everything. So in the envelope here is probably the seal. Yep, here it is. It's the new seal. And I wish we had two. That would have been cool. I wasn't thinking to order two seals. I guess you could buy, yeah, you could buy the seals, of course, separately. I didn't think of doing that. Years ago, the Gravely guy, he told me to do that with the axle seals once. I'm not seeing the gaskets in here. Where the hell are the gaskets? Hold on, I'll be right back. There's another part of this envelope I can't open here. The gasket was in that yellow envelope. I'm an idiot. So, okay. So, all right. So now we're gonna bang the. I'm gonna clean that out real good in there, and we'll install a new gasket. Told you I'm an idiot. We're gonna install the seal. Okay. So if I install this seal in through the back here, it's just gonna get a whole lot of. I'm just gonna put it in this way. Probably build up a lot of dirt and grime, and the seal's exposed. You don't want to do that. So I'm wondering, I'm just going to start putting this seal in, because this seal was in, the old seal was inside here a little bit, and I want to judge and see what part of the crank I want this. I mean, I could run this down pretty far if I have to, but let me see what I decide here. Well, let's just start putting the seal in. Now, let me go over to the tractor, and I want to see how the seal feels. I'm going to put a little oil around the seal and, you know, fit it and see. I don't know, the seal felt pretty tight all the way down the crank there. So, I'm going to just begin by knocking it in flush. You got to be careful doing this the way I'm doing it. Once I get it started, I might just use the socket, but if you're really careful, just give it light taps. You could more or less just start this thing on in. And try to hit it around the edge, here where the strongest part is, and you should be alright. I hope my arm and stuff's not in the way. Okay, so I got it in here pretty flush, or almost. I'm going to see how that feels. I might want to run this down more in there. I could go pretty far. I could go another quite a bit. Let me just see how it feels right now. I'll be back in a second. I don't know, it really can't hurt. What I'm going to do is, this video is starting to become long, I think. I'm just going to run that seal in there a little further. But it already felt good, pretty good. But I'll run it down a little more and I'll be back to you. I ran it down further than it was before here, but I don't want to press my luck, and I think we're just going to leave it at that. And you saw me take it all apart, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the whole thing back together, and we'll start it up to see if it's dry, see if we stop the leak. Okay, so I got the cover back on, and the seal is in the casing a little further than it was before. It slipped on pretty nice, so I think we have a good seal there. and I hooked up the oil lines here, and now I'm just going to continue to finish it, and we'll start it up and I'll let it run and see if we get any drips. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so for one thing, you don't have to take the oil lines off. So you really don't have to drop the hitch. For a second thing, you saw that we pressed the seal in there, and I was having trouble putting the cover back on. I had to keep going over the bolts and going over the bolts. Well, there's a big washer. Well, it's big and round, but it's really thin. I think it's like a spacer. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's an oil sling thing. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I was having trouble tightening up the cover, and I kept going around the bolts and going around the bolts. And I started it up, and there was no oil pressure. Then I saw it still leaking. I'm glad you weren't here for that. There was a lot of bad words. Lots of bad words. I did the thing with tilting a machine, grabbing the handlebars, tilted all the way back. I let it run. I didn't want it to run too long like that. And I come to find out I blew some air in the line because I had the lines off like I really shouldn't have had to. And I saw oil coming around the seat of the oil pump cover. So I ended up taking it all apart again. I also took off the oil lines. Like you don't have to. You just don't even have to do. You don't have to even do anything with this. The reason why I took the hitch off was because the other oil line on this side here, it's hard to, not even, just for the fact that it's hard to get the wrench on there. When you go to put it back on, it's hard to twist on and everything. All right, long story short. So I kind of mangled that washer. That washer came out of place. That's what the problem was. That's why the cover wasn't seating. So I just took that washer and went over to the vise on the anvil part of the vise there, and I just flattened it back out. I stuck it back in. I started it up. I saw it wasn't leaking oil, but it still had no oil pressure. And then I did the thing with the handlebars, and then it regained oil pressure. And as you can see right now, it's a success. So it was the crank oil seal that was leaking. I forgot to show you the oil pressure now. So I freaked out. I almost put the tractor away, put all the tools away, and I decided let me take it apart again, and I was able to take care of that. So that's going to be it on this tractor for a while, but it looks as though we're going to be doing the top end on it. So I'm going to use it for now. I'm going to stick the hood. Well, I'm not doing anything as far as cleanup today, so I'm going to leave the hood off for a couple of days. I just run it around the yard and make sure the oil leak's gone. That was my main thing right now, is getting rid of that oil leak. That was pretty bad, which you saw at the beginning of the video. And I'll just stick the hood back on it and use it. And somewhere along the line, we have other projects that have to be done. I have to get a couple lawnmowers ready. It's lawnmower season to put out for sale so we can get some more money in here to buy more projects and whatever else we need. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I guess that's it. That's going to be it on this tractor for a while. You know, the oil's still good in it. I just had to add a little bit to it. But there's no sense of changing the oil if we're taking the engine back apart. As far as the top end goes here, like we're not pulling the whole engine off. We don't have to do that. There's 4 nuts that hold the whole piston cylinder jug here. We're still going to have to take some stuff apart, but we don't have to take the bottom end of the engine off. And then we'll do the thing with measuring the bore. I'm definitely going to just lap the valves. I'm not going crazy with this. I'm not buying new valve guides or none of that. We'll check the valve guides when we take it apart. I'll shake the valve. If the valve guides are really bad, then we'll change them. But we're not going too crazy with this now. I just want it to stop smoking. It's not smoking that bad, but it's smoking bad enough for me to want to do something about it. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all on the next one. And most of all, stay safe.